Michael Popok, Legal AF. One major takeaway from the results of the off-year election is that abortion being on the ballot inures to the benefit of the Democrats and will drive voters, all types of voters, to the polls to support a woman's right to choose. We hope that that would be the impact of the June 2022 decision in Dobbs by the U.S. Supreme Court to rip away a woman's fundamental right that had been enshrined as part of the Constitution and Supreme Court precedent for over 50 years. But now every election and special election and now off-year election proves the point. Nothing gets Democrats to the polls more than this particular issue at this particular time. Republicans have always been accused of using wedge social issues to try to drive their voters to the polls. They thought that attacking people who are transgender, for instance, would help them counteract the overwhelming moral and legal momentum of people supporting a woman's right to choose. Of course, that kind of cynical approach to separating Americans one from the other didn't work, as we just saw in the recent voting. We have two examples, and then I'm going to talk about what is or potentially on the ballot in 2024 and how that helps the Democrats from that perspective. Here on my hot take, let's talk about what happened. Let's start with Virginia. Virginia has a governor, Glenn Youngkin, who has been trying to install into their body of law a 15-week ban, what the Republicans, the more moderate, less Trumper Republicans, less MAGA, like to refer to as sort of a softer, gentler abortion. Terrible words to apply to that concept. 15 weeks, couple of exceptions for incest and rape, but that is inconsistent with what's on the books currently in Virginia. And so they wanted to make sure, the advocates of reproductive rights, that Virginia stays blue and protects a woman and kills that bill. And so Virginia, the state house, the state assembly, the Senate went totally blue. In fact, they were able, the Democrats, to flip the control of the House, what they call the assembly in Virginia, blue. So now you've got the governor being held by a Republican, but both houses of the legislative branch of the Virginia is now all blue, and that will now put the kibosh forever on Glenn Youngkin's administrative and legislative agenda and his ability to get the 15-week ban passed. Take that off the books, put Virginia in the column of the Democrats, and it wasn't by a little, it was by a lot. 56% to 43% of Virginians, the overwhelming number of people that voted ultimately resulted in both these houses going to Virginia. On the Ohio side, kind of got ahead of myself there. On the Ohio side, there was an example of an actual constitutional amendment on the ballot, a reproductive rights protection ballot initiative, which was known there as the right to make reproductive decisions, including abortion. That was the title of the amendment, and voting yes for it on issue 1 enshrined in the Constitution of Ohio the right for a woman to choose, with some limited exceptions, moving the date for the last time that a woman can make that choice as the 24th week of her pregnancy, up from the 22nd week now. And that overwhelmingly won by 56% to 43% in Ohio. Now, what does that mean for the upcoming November 2024 presidential election year? It means that the more places where abortion, along with Joe Biden, are the issue of the day, the better the chances are for Joe Biden to prevail and be reelected. And the supporters of and the progressive movement of Democrats know that, and they have put on the ballot already in 2 states, New York and Maryland, constitutional amendments that would enshrine in their state constitutions the right for a woman to choose. But in most of the battleground states, these advocates and proponents are very close to getting on ballots and should have enough signatures in order to do that in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Missouri, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania may be a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but it will draw and drag people to the polls to vote, because abortion will be up for grabs in a ballot initiative in Pennsylvania, which is trying to say that there's no right for a woman to choose in Pennsylvania. But in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Missouri, and Nevada, there will be, I predict, based on recent data, actual amendments to the Constitution to be voted on by voters at the exact same time that they're voting for Joe Biden. And that's not by coincidence or accident. Okay, the advocates of a woman's right to choose and getting that enshrined in constitutions state by state, which is what the U.S. Supreme Court has left us since the Dobbs decision in June of 2022, a state by state approach. It's what the Supreme Court at the time in the decision even written by Sam Alito predicted and encouraged, that this would be a state-by-state decision because there's no federal constitutional right for a woman to choose, as they wrote that opinion. We thought that then the advocates of a woman's right to choose would kind of get up from the mat, having been, knocked down by the Dobbs decision, and come up and implement their state-by-state strategy, and they are effectively doing it. And the reason that they are targeting these battleground states is to also help Joe Biden to get more voters. Because even where Joe Biden, for whatever reason, at current polling is not as popular as he should be, this vote on abortion will lead to an enormous outpouring of voters waiting in lines, early voting, mail voting, whatever it is, to have their voices heard. And while they're there, of course, they will vote for the Democratic candidate, in this case, Joe Biden. So I wanted to outline not just what happened in Virginia and Ohio and what is on the books already for the ballot for New York and Maryland, but what it means, abortion as a wedge issue, as a human issue, as a moral issue for the Democratic Party to get behind, the right for a woman to choose, to give her back that right. It's hard to believe we have to talk about this in 2023 and 2024. Give back a right to women that they should have always had since 1973, if not before. And so this is what we're seeing, this coalescing, right? This confluence of the Biden campaign, the campaign for Democrats, and this major issue. The Republicans have had the last laugh in a number of elections, not at the popular vote, but in certain elections using wedge issues. Gay marriage historically had always been a wedge issue that the Republicans used to drive their voters to the polls, including the Christian right, and to divide Americans amongst themselves and within households. If it wasn't gay marriage, now it's because gay marriage has become so accepted in society and among this next generation of X and Y and Z that they can't use that anymore. So it's now transgender, but that doesn't resonate with people the way the other issues did. And so they're kind of running out of the boogeyman approach to get people to go to the polls to vote for Republicans in large numbers, which is why Republicans have lost 7 of the 8 of the last popular vote presidential election cycles. That's nothing to be proud of, and that's why we've been able to put so many Democrats back in the White House as president with the re-election of Clinton, the re-election of Obama, the election of Joe Biden. A couple of examples in the middle, one term, the 2 Bushes, 1 term, so to speak. But that's where we are. That's where we are. Abortion has proved again to be a galvanizing force to compel people to vote. And when they vote, they invariably vote for Democrats. And so look for it on the ballot in the state that you're in. And as these signatures go around in Colorado, Arizona, Florida, Missouri, Nevada, and Pennsylvania, make sure that your voice is heard and you help get these constitutional amendment items on the ballot so that they are there to attract voters who can then make sure that Joe Biden gets in. Because if Joe Biden doesn't get in, we're going to have a retaliatory presidency with the restoration of Donald Trump, who has a long list of enemies who really are just the justice system and other Democrats that he will try to execute. I mean the list, not the people, although that could happen as well at the rate his violent rhetoric is taking off. So if we don't want the restoration of Donald Trump and the ascendancy of MAGA, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen, this particular issue will bring people to the polls. So I wanted to outline it for you here on this hot take. I do hot takes like this one at the intersection of law, justice, politics, in this case, regularly on the MeidasTouch network. And I also co-anchor the leading podcast that's devoted to law and politics called Legal AF. And yeah, it's what you think. It's Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. exclusively on the MeidasTouch network, and then on audio podcast platforms wherever you get it. If you like this kind of content, give me a thumbs up and I'll continue to bring it to you. It helps with the ratings. But until my next hot take and my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.